Good evening, everyone. Muy buenas noches a todos. Esto es Jason Anthony. This is Jason Anthony. We're doing tonight something very different. Estamos haciendo algo muy diferente. We're doing something very unique tonight. Since that, you know, Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy have been doing something very, let's say, debunking, or in other words, not fact checking regarding the visas. We're going to do it for you. So let's get it to it. So let's go for it, shall we? So this is the type of visas. Estos son los tipos de visas que hay. But, vamos a hacerlo en inglés primero y después vamos a hacer una parte en español. Vale. First things first. There's the non-immigrant visas, and there's the immigrant visas. The ones that they're focusing on is the non-immigrant visas. But surprisingly, we found the H-1B1. But get this, free trade agreement, professional, Chile and Singapore. Let's check that one out. Well, it took us right back to the page. Oh well, we'll have to click. But the description for the one in Chile is in Spanish. Okay, then. But let's see the one in Singapore. Okay, it says ustraveldocs.com. Apply for a visa. At this website, you can learn apply for a visa. But get this. Specialized occupations and fields requiring highly specialized knowledge. That could provide us a more go. Temporarily worker visas. And here it is. H-1B. Person in specialized occupation. General description. For Applicants working in a specialized occupation, applicants must have at least a bachelor's degree or equivalent experience in a specialized occupation, including fashion models, physicians, or DOD project participants. Does that sound familiar to us? Fashion models. Who is a fashion model? Or who was a fashion model? Melania Trump. Notice for same-sex marriage. Uh, this Donald John Trump could change this, and Marco Rubio could change this. So we could have surprises. So within the temporary workers visa, in addition to the H-1B, we have the H-1B1, that's the free trade agreement. So, or for those applicants from Chile or Singapore in a specialized occupation. But again, this is not a petition base. And the H-2A is a agricultural worker permit. So this is a visa for, so this is more for like people that want to work in the agricultural sector in states like California, Florida, etc. And then we have the H-2B, temporarily non-agricultural worker. For applicants performing temporarily or seasonal non-agricultural work, only citizens or nationals from designated countries are eligible for this visa, or limited exceptions. The H3 is trainee or special education visitor. This is for applicants receiving training other than graduate medical or academic training in any field that is not available in their home country. Applicants may also participate in practicing and practical training in the education of children with mental, physical, or emotional disabilities. Uh, this one I have seen students, let's say medical grad students from Cuba study at medical school in universities in Puerto Rico. Uh, you have the L visa, that's the intra-company transferee for applicants working in a managerial or executive capacity, or applicants working in a position requiring specialized knowledge. The petitioner must be in a branch, parent, or affiliate, or subsidiary of the applicant's current employer. Applicants must be have worked in the same employer abroad for a year within the 3 years preceded within 3 preceded years. You have the O visa, that is the individual with extraordinary ability or achievement. And then you have the P1, you have the P2, you have the P3, and then you have the Q1. But these four are more like cultural exchanges. The first three, to be exact, the first one is more for like athletes. The second one and the third one is more like media. And the last one is cultural. And then how do you do all of this? You have to go through, you have to go to the embassy or consulate's website, follow the instructions, and uh, complete the DS-160 form. And here are the requirements. And let's say for the sake of argument, let's put Mexico City. See, for a non-immigrant person applying for a non-immigrant visa, look how long it takes. For B1, B2 visa, takes 1 calendar day. For a waiver. But look for the interview, 262 days. But let's say let's put Santo Domingo, the Dominican Republic. Look at the difference. For a student exchange, 15 days. For a temporary worker, the same thing. For a B1, B2, 262 days. For a waiver, 1 day. And look how much is the fees. $205. Let's check the fees for Mexico City. The same thing. Let's check let's check London. Look at this. 3 days for interview, but look for the interview waiver for the visitors. For the visas B1 and B2. 14 days. But look for the fees. 205 days. Let's check for Paris. Six, 15, 15, 160, 777. Let's check Panama City. Let's check Russia. Since that Donald Trump, Moscow. Since that Trump close. Let's see Kuwait. 877 14 5555. Let's check Hong Kong. 772 14 and 1. Let's check Beijing. The days change. Let's see Madrid. Four, 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 100, 333. Let's see Toronto. Look at this one. 20, 41, 691 days. That's over a year. 10, 10, 10, 10. Let's do Melbourne. 11, 31, 16, 86, 1, 1, 1, 1. Let's do Cali. Let's do the Washington Refugee Processing Center. 54, 54, 54, 777. Port-au-Prince. Look what's going on in Port-au-Prince. Emergency appointments only. Let's see in Cuba. In Cuba is the same thing. Emergency appointments only. Let's see. Tel Aviv. 77125 111. Let's check Caracas. Look at Caracas, Venezuela. Close. Mira Ciudad Juárez. 14, 14, 14, 15, 15, 295 days, 10, 10, 10, and 10. Let's go Guadalajara. Same thing. Let's go Lima. Look at this. How long it will take to get the interview required for the visitors B1, B2? 444 days. That's a lot of time. Let's see Jerusalem. Emergency appointments only. Kiev. Close. Let's see here in New York. The only doing 3 of them. Ese Quito. Since that we went over already the non-migrant visas, let's go over the migrant. We have we have immediate relative of family sponsors, spouse of a U.S. citizen. We have the IR1 or CR1, the spouse of a U.S. citizen with approval of a I-130. That's the K3. Fiance to marry a U.S. citizen and lives in this country. That'll be the K1. The intercountry abduction of a orphan children by U.S. citizens. There's four different types. You have the IR3, the IH3, the IR4, and the IH4. And then you have certain family members of U.S. citizens. You have the IR2, CR2, the IR5, the F1, F3, and F4. And then you have certain family members of lawful permanent citizens. You have the F2A and the F2B. And then you have the employer sponsored. You have employment based immigrants, including preferred groups, priority workers first, professional holdings advanced degrees and professional exceptional ability second, professional and other workers third, employment creations investors fifth, and certain special immigrants fourth. And these are the E1, E2, E3, EW3, C5, T5, R5, I5, and S. And then you have the religious workers, you have the SD and SR. And then you have the Iraqi and Afghan interpreters and translators. They have also their visas, and those are the SIs. And they have been very essential during the Iraq and Afghan war, especially with the civilians and on behalf of the federal government. And also those Iraqis and Afghans who work for and on behalf of the federal government, they also have a designated visa, and they are the SQ. And other migrants, they have a special visa, and that's called the diversity immigrant visa. that comes out once a year. Let's talk about that one. Because this one is not mentioned a lot. And this one is called the DV program, or in other words, the diversity program. And this is a program created by the U.S. Citizenship and Migration Services that they open a series of 50,000 um, to a species called a lottery, that 50,000 migrants are selected randomly from different countries that have a low rate of immigration to the United States are selected to have uh, migration status in the United States. But here's the catch. The diversity migrant program, visa program makes up of 50,000 immigrant visas annually drawn from a random selection among all entries to individuals who are from countries with low rates of immigration to the United States. And what is the criteria? For applicant to adjust status under the DV program, you must establish that you have been selected for a diversity visa by the DOS lottery. Have an immigrant visa immediately available for the time of filing by an adjustment application form I-435 application to register a permanent resident or adjust status and are invisible to the United States. So here are the documents. You have to fill out the form I-485, have two passport style photos, copy of the birth certificate, the form I-693, that's a copy of medical examination and vaccine records, copy of passport page with non-migrant visa if applicable, copy of passport with admission entry of and or parole stamp, form I-94 arrival and departure record, certified copies of court records if the individual has been arrested, copy of principal applicant selection letter of the diversity visa letter from the Department of State, copy of the receipt of the Department of State diversity visa lottery processing fee in the Form 601 application for waiver grounds of admissibility if applicable, and the fees. Other considerations, the adjustment for status process for diversity visa winners must be completed by September 30th of the fiscal year the lottery pertains to. Visas cannot carry over to the next fiscal year. So the results of next year's diversity program already started. So these are the 6 steps. Submit an entry, select an application. If selected, confirm your qualifications. Submit your immigration, visa, alien registration application. So it's basically 10 steps. And the last time that I checked this list, so this is for the 2025 one. So for the diversity visa, immigrant visa for the 2025, the following countries and areas are not eligible to apply because more than 50,000 natives from the countries migrated to the U.S. in the previous 5 years. And they are Bangladesh, Brazil, Canada, China, Hong Kong, Colombia, Dominican Republic, El Salvador, Haiti, Honduras, Chile, India, Jamaica, Mexico, Nigeria, Pakistan, Philippines, uh, South Korea, Venezuela, and Vietnam. But it says natives of Macau's SAR and Taiwan are eligible. But it says, with the exception of the UK and its dependent territories, which are now eligible for the diversity of with the DV 2025, there are no changes in the eligibility for the previous fiscal year. So if you're a resident from the UK, go for it. And for the year 2026, uh, the number of participants went up to 5,000 more. So instead of 50,000, the number will be up to 55,000. But here are the numbers for the the diversity visa for 2026. Bangladesh, Brazil, Canada, the People's Republic of China, Colombia, Cuba, Dominican Republic, El Salvador, Haiti, Honduras, India, Jamaica, Mexico, Nigeria, Pakistan, Philippines, Republic of Korea, Venezuela, Vietnam, and main natives of Macau, SR, and Taiwan. But get this, with the exception of Cuba, which is not eligible for the DV 2026, there were no changes from previous years. Here are the requirements. One, you have to be a native from countries with historic laws of immigration to the United States in order to enter. That's requirement one. Requirement two, each DV entrant was meet education/work requirements or experience had should have at least high school education or its equivalent. Well, at least for the 2026 program, it already passed. But there's one. Let's say there's several. Let's say two in particular that I want to talk about. The Visa T, that is victim of human trafficking. That was brought to my attention during last month's MTA subcommittee and food board by a wonderful woman that testified about this. People might not be aware of this, especially in countries like Latin America, where this is very common. Yes, human trafficking. So, according to the Department of State, there is a visa for victims of human trafficking. And let's go through them one by one. A severe form of trafficking in person is defined as number one, sex trafficking in which a commercial sex act is induced by force, fraud, or coercion, which the person is induced to perform a such act is under 18 years of age. Or two, the recruitment of harboring, transportation, provision, or obtaining of a person for labor or services to the use of force, fraud, or coercion for the purpose of subjecting that the person is involuntarily subjecting or permitting debt bonding or slavery. A victim of severe form of trafficking in persons may be eligible for immigration relief under the United States immigration law, specifically for the T non-migrant status or a T visa. T non-migrant status allows a certain victims for a severe form of trafficking in persons to remain in the United States if they have complied with any reasonable request for assistance from law enforcement in the detention, investigation, or persecution of human trafficking or qualify for an exception or exception. Non-citizens seeking T1 non-immigrant status must be physically present in the United States due to their trafficking. Therefore, U.S. embassies and consulates abroad do not issue T1 visas, but may issue visas to qualifying family members, delegates of T1 applicants are not immigrants. The purpose of the website is to explain the visa application process at U.S. embassies and consulates abroad for qualifying family members of trafficking victims. So this is the process that the person has to follow. To receive a T1 non-immigrant status, you have to meet all eligible requirements and must comply with the filing of the requirements of the Form I-914, the application for T non-immigrant status, C4 by U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, WICIS. To be eligible, you must be in the United States, American Samoa, the Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands, or at the U.S. port of entry due to trafficking, you must have been allowed entry in the United States for participation in investigative or judicial processes associated with an act or participator of trafficking. You must also demonstrate that you are admissible or eligible for waiver. You may apply for T1 non-immigrant status by filling out a Form I-914 application for T non-migrant status with WICIS. Application for T1 non-immigrant status must be filled with WICIS and will not be accepted at United States embassies or consulates abroad. For important detailed information on eligibility and how to apply for T1 non-immigrant status, visit WICIS Victims of Human Trafficking T non-migrant status webpage. And here's the steps. If the person is under 21, This is the form. And the fee is $185. And the other one that, let's say the far right, doesn't want to, let's say, mention is this one, the U visa. That's the visa for crime for victims of criminal activity. Countries like Mexico, Colombia, uh, and others, they have gangs or, let's say, people want to leave their country for a better life, and they feel that, you know, they feel that the United States is a better place for them. But we have elected officials, especially from the far right. They don't know that this visa exists. And let's talk about it. Visas for victims of criminal activity. Victims of certain criminal activity are either occurred in the United States or violated U.S. laws may be eligible for a petition for U non-immigrant status to U.S. citizenship. In other words, if a person, in other words, if a person of a certain criminal activity that either occurred in the U.S. or violated U.S. laws may be eligible for a petition for U non-criminal status to USs. Victims that suffer substantial either mental or physical abuse to have a victim of qualifying criminal activity and possesses specific, credible, and reliable information concerning that criminal activity, a law enforcement or other certified official must also certify that the victim is being or likely to be helpful in the detection, investigation, prosecution, or conviction or sentencing of the qualifying criminal activity. Victims must also demonstrate that they are admissible to the United States or eligible for a waiver. So this means that let's let's assume for a second a a person from the gang El Tren de Aragua arrived into New York and committed a crime in the area of Times Square. And a person who is staying in one of the migrant shelters witnessed a crime committed by this gang member. This person has to be willing to come forward with the NYPD and everybody else. Y ahora de inglés, vamos a hacerlo en español. Para mí es un honor en hacer esto. ¿Por qué? Porque tenemos personas por ahí, por ejemplo, a Elon Musk y a Vivek Ramaswamy, que se han pasado regando por ahí conspiraciones, o sea, diciendo lo que no es. Y entonces eso está creando problemas. Y no queremos crear la percepción de lo que no es. Y entonces, para eso es lo que estamos aquí. Y como la página del Departamento de Estado no se puede traducir al español, pues vamos a hacer lo mejor posible para traducirle las cosas al español. Y estamos en la página del Departamento de Estado, que es travel.state.gov. Y tenemos la categoría de visas. Las visas no inmigrantes y las visas migrantes. No las vamos a hablar, o sea, no vamos a hablar de todas, pero vamos a hablar de esas que le interesa, o sea, que nos interesa a nosotros, a los hispanos. De las non-migrants, puedo decir o sea, lo que se ha escuchado hablar en estos pasados días es sobre las visas H1B, que son, que son estas personas en una ocupación especializada, que son para aplicantes que trabajan en una ocupación especializada, que los aplicantes deben de tener un grado en un bachillerato o equivalente en su estudio que incluye diseños de moda, doctores o participantes de proyectos del Departamento de Defensa. Y está también el programa H2A, que son, que es la visa para los trabajadores temporeros de agricultura, que mayormente son los que trabajan en los campos. Esto se ve mayormente en los estados de California y en la Florida. Tenemos también la visa 2B, que son los trabajadores temporeros no agriculturales, que son para aplicantes de ciertas naciones, pero hay excepciones limitadas. Y hay también las visas P1, P2, P3 y Q1, o sea, la visa que Q1 viene siendo más un intercambio cultural. Y entonces, como habíamos hablado, las visas de tráfico humano, que es la visa T1, ¿cuáles son los requisitos? Llenar la forma I-914. O sea, ¿qué tienes que hacer para cualificar? Y entonces, vamos a suponer un caso hipotético, ya que estamos haciendo esto en español, vamos a poner Ciudad de México. Este, o sea, ahí tienes o sea, la cantidad de días que uno tiene que esperar para el tipo de visas no migrantes. O sea, 21 días calendario, 25, 262. Y entonces, para esta específicamente, para la visa T1, son $185. Y entonces, si la persona viene de México, dice ciudadanos mexicanos no están exentos, por lo tanto, todos ciudadanos mexicanos, tanto no mexicanos que los acompañen, que unan a ellos, no estarán exentos de los requisitos de la visa, por ejemplo, el cónyuge y los canadienses de un mexicano deben obtener la visa de los no inmigrantes solicitantes de la nacionalidad iraní, iraquí, Liberia, somalí, sumanesa, siria o yemaní que tenga un estatus residente o refugiado en Canadá. No entendí la traducción, pero ahí vamos. Entonces, Las personas que piensan venir a los Estados Unidos y dice para solicitantes de la exención provisional A, o sea, I-601A. El 3 de enero del 2013, el servicio, UISIS anunció que ciertos familiares inmediatos de ciudadanos estadounidenses presentes en los Estados Unidos que están en el proceso de búsqueda de visas inmigrantes del Departamento de Estado para convertirse en residentes legales permanentes de los Estados Unidos, pueden solicitar y ser aprobados para extensiones provisionales de presencia ilegal antes de salir de los Estados Unidos para asistir para la entrevista de inmigrante. Por favor, de revisar el comunicado de prensa e instrucciones en el sitio web de UISIS para mayor información sobre quiénes son elegibles y ok, esto es para, estas son para las visas inmigrantes. Vamos a la visa K1. Y se podrán preguntar, ¿qué cambiaría? O sea, ¿qué pasaría si la persona es del mismo sexo? Muy buena pregunta. Usted tiene que llenar el formulario I-130. O sea, mira la pregunta. Soy ciudadano estadounidense o un residente permanente legal casado con un extranjero de mi mismo sexo. ¿Puedo patricionar mi cónyuge para una visa inmigrante basada en la familia? Y después dice, soy un ciudadano estadounidense comprometido en matrimonio a un extranjero de mi mismo sexo. ¿Puedo presentar una visa del prometido, ahí uno tendría que llenar el formulario I-129F. Y ahí está todo lo demás. No vamos a hablar sobre el programa de diversidad, o sea, la visa de diversidad, porque es demasiado complicado. Pero sí, todo lo que necesitas saber está aquí. Travel.state.gov. Y no sé por qué razón. Y también puede ir también a la página de el gobierno de Estados Unidos a usa.gov.es. Y ahí puede este, saber todo lo que sucede dentro del gobierno de Estados Unidos. ¿Cómo obtener la tarjeta verde? ¿Cómo solicitarla? Y si quiere localizar su embajada, puede ir a usembassy.gov y puede localizar dónde que está la embajada de los Estados Unidos en cualquier nación. vamos a hacer varios ejemplos. Vamos a seleccionar el de la República Dominicana. El de la República Dominicana está en la Avenida República de Colombia, número 57, en Santo Domingo. En Colombia está en Bogotá, en la carretera 45, número 24B-57. En Venezuela, está en Caracas. En México está en México DF, en el Paseo de la Reforma 305, Colonia Cuauhtémoc. Y en Cuba está en calzada entre las calles L y M en La Habana. Es bien sencillo. Recuerde, travel.state.gov. Y si quiere enterarse de lo último sobre las visas, aquí está lo último. Recuerde que están en las redes sociales en Facebook, en Instagram, en X, tienen videos en YouTube y en el RSS feed. Y recuerde que tienen una página de contáctenos. Si tienes cualquier pregunta sobre las pizzas, Aquí tienes todas las contestaciones. Si tienes aprobado una petición de visa con UISIS, que tiene la información con quién contactar y animal. Este, si fue seleccionado para la visa de diversidad, el email del Centro del Consular de Kentucky, el email, y ese email debe incluir su nombre, fecha de nacimiento y el número de caso. Este, si quieres aplicar para un non-migrant visa, ahí está el link. Este, si tienes una visa J1, ahí tienes el enlace. People have asked how many visas. There's more than 20. In other words, hay más de 20 visas. Así es que how to read a visa es como leer una visa, la validad, y estos son los FAQs sobre las visas. Pero Como les digo, I've been saying all along, state.travel.gov is your best tool. Don't be misled by Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy. Y se lo puedes decir en español. No se dejen llevar por lo que les diga Elon Musk y Vivek Ramaswamy, porque ellos no le están diciendo el cuento completo. Si van a venir para acá, para los Estados Unidos, tienen un recurso ante ustedes y es state, o sea, travel.state.gov. O sea, vamos a empezar desde el principio. Cuando estén en la página principal, van a ir donde dice US Visas. O sea, tienen la página principal, tienen pasaportes, viaje internacional y US Visas, que es la tercera de izquierda hacia derecha. Le van a dar ahí y entonces le van a decir que es una US Visa. O sea, va a salir todo en inglés y entonces en la parte, o sea, va a haber cuatro, o sea, debajo de US Visa va a haber de turista y visitas, negocios, empleo, estudio, intercambios, inmigrantes, otras categorías de visas y US visas reciprocidades y documentos civiles por país. Y entonces, en esta cajita, o sea, en este cuadro aquí, va a haber los tiempos de espera para una cita para las visas no inmigrantes. O sea, esta primera aquí es para estudiantes de intercambio. O sea, para las visas M, o sea, F, M y J. O sea, estamos hablando de 3 semanas. O sea, 21 días calendario. Para la entrevista requerida. O sea, la entrevista requerida para aquella persona que vaya a hacer trabajos temporeros. O sea, para las pizzas H, L, O, P y Q, son 25 días que tiene que esperar. y la entrevista es requerida para aquellas personas que son de tripulación o que estén en tránsito. Para esas personas que vayan a solicitar las visas C, D o C1D, el tiempo de espera es de 25 días. El tiempo de espera para una entrevista para un visitante usando las visas B1 y B2 son de 262 días calendario. Y entonces, para el waiver, que vendría siendo la exención para todos un día. Y aquí están las formas. La 160, la 156E, la 158, la 1648, la 117, la 157, la 230, la 260, la 261, la 1884, pero todos tienen que llenar la DS 160. Y vamos a seleccionar para este caso hipotético, vamos a poner Ciudad de México. Bueno, dice que entre el código 6H4. ¿Ve? Ya me da la aplicación. y todo lo demás. Así es que, o sea, haciendo la aplicación en línea es fácil, pero vamos a ver de qué se trata el waiver, la exención. O sea, que permite a... Ok. Pero para mayores detalles, puede ir a su embajada más cercana. Por ejemplo, en México está en DF, en Chihuahua, en Guadalajara, Jalisco, en Sonora, en Matamoros, Tamaulipas, en Yucatán, en Nuevo León, en Nogales, Zamora, Nuevo Laredo y Tijuana, Baja California. Y vamos a mencionar la de Colombia, que está en Bogotá. Y tiene su propio website. Y ese es el diputado de Colombia, Francisco Palmieri. Yo voy a ver si la de México tiene su portal así. y la Embajada de México y, o sea, la Embajada y Consulado de Estados Unidos en México tiene un canal de WhatsApp. Así es que, así es que eso es todo para esta noche. Muchas gracias por estar con nosotros. Este, pues nada, gente, muchas gracias por estar con nosotros. Y, y antes de irnos, quiero decirles que si quieren patrocinar este documental que se llama Union, donde este servidor estuvo, y lo pueden alquilar. Y tienen hasta el 16 de enero para alquilarlo. Y pueden ver a este servidor junto a un extraordinario grupo donde formamos la primera, o sea, el primer sindicato independiente y donde hicimos tendencia y donde terminamos el año 2024 siendo nominados para como este como uno de los mejores documentales para el Oscar. Now in English. Uh, if you want to support the labor movement, I would say support this documentary that is called Union. Union the film, produced by Steve Meng, Red Story, Mars, Sam, Martin, all these wonderful people got together over 2 years ago in the midst of COVID, produced this documentary. It was premiered early this year in Sundance, got premiered in the New York City Film Festival, along with my former boss, Chris Smalls, Derek, Jordan, Gerald, Natalie, Angie, and everybody else who were with us from the beginning. And we paved the way for the, I'll say, the uncaucus. And we're now appreciated for the hard work that we did. I'll say, think it twice and rent the trailer. And it was produced in New York City, the city that never sleeps. So, with this, folks, I want to say this. By the way, you could support the film crew by request either screening or going up to Toronto on January 11th to the Hot Dogs and Jed Rogers Cinema and watching the theater, watching the documentary like I did here in the Big Apple. Because there's nothing like it. There's nothing like it. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.